Coming up on 5 Minute News. Myanmar military seizes power, detains elected leader. Expert warns US to brace for virulent COVID strain. And Moscow in lockdown as police detain thousands. It's Monday, February 1. I'm Anthony Davis. Myanmar's military seized power today in a coup against the democratically elected government of Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi, who was detained along with other leaders of her National League for Democracy party in early morning raids. The army said it had carried out the detentions in response to election fraud, handing power to military chief Min Aung Hlaing and imposing a state of emergency for 1 year, according to a statement on a military-owned television station. Phone lines to the capital and the main commercial centre of Yangon were not reachable, and state TV went off air hours before Parliament had been due to sit for the first time since the NLD's landslide election win in November, viewed as a referendum on Suu Kyi's fledgling democratic government. Soldiers took up positions at City Hall in Yangon, and mobile internet data and phone services in the NLD stronghold were disrupted, residents said. Internet connectivity has also fallen dramatically, monitoring service NetBlocks said. The detentions came after days of escalating tension between the civilian government and the military that stirred fears of a coup in the aftermath of the election. In America, the White House said President Joe Biden had been briefed on the arrest of Suu Kyi. The United States opposes any attempt to alter the outcome of recent elections or impede Myanmar's democratic transition, and will take action against those responsible if these steps are not reversed, a spokeswoman said in a statement. A leading infectious disease expert predicted on Sunday that the deadlier British variant of COVID-19 will become the dominant strain of the virus in the US and could hit the country like a hurricane. The worrying forecast came as the total of confirmed infections in America passed the 26 million mark, with the death toll advancing steadily towards the grim milestone of 500,000, by far the highest in the world, according to data gathered by Johns Hopkins University. Epidemiologist Michael Osterholm, who served on Joe Biden's Transition Coronavirus Advisory Board after the Democratic victory in the election and is director of the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy at the University of Minnesota, warned the U.S. to brace for the spread of the virulent strain this spring. The surge that is likely to occur with this new variant from England is going to happen in the next 6 to 14 weeks, Osterholm said on Sunday morning. He urged the new administration to move faster with plans to get as many people as possible in the US vaccinated, at least with their first dose, especially those aged over 65, in order to try and stave off the worst exacerbation by variants of the ongoing crisis. Osterholm indicated that if leaders across the US cannot stay ahead of the more contagious and more virulent UK strain, a disaster is bearing down in the form of a new and rapid surge of infections in a pandemic that has been out of control since it hit the US more than a year ago. If we see that happen, we're going to see something like we have not seen in this country. I see that hurricane Category 5, 450 miles offshore, Osterholm said. The US CDC has reported that so far almost 50 million vaccine doses have been distributed and about 30 million of those administered to patients out of a US population in excess of 320 million. Police have paralyzed the centers of Russia's largest cities, including Moscow, as the Kremlin sought to beat back rallies in support of jailed opposition leader Alexei Navalny, the country's most significant protests in a decade. Supporters of the Kremlin critic took to the streets to protest against his jailing, despite the biting cold and threat of arrest. At least 5,100 people, including Navalny's wife Yulia Navalnaya, were detained as the rallies across the country entered a second week. Taking unprecedented security measures, riot police and National Guard's troops shut down several central metro stations in Moscow and blocked off streets to prevent a repeat of last week's record protests, some of the largest since 2012. The unsanctioned protests deteriorated into a cat-and-mouse game as riot police armed with batons and stun guns pursued protesters through the capital. The Kremlin's goal on Sunday was to show that it was ready to take extraordinary measures to prevent Navalny supporters from gathering in cities across the country. You can subscribe to 5 Minute News on YouTube with your preferred podcast app. Ask your smart speaker or enable 5 Minute News as your Amazon Alexa flash briefing skill. Subscribe, rate and review online at 5minute.news. 5 Minute News is an Evergreen Podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.